Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kari and today I will talk about TV shows that were ruined by terrible writing decisions. On this channel, I love to talk about movies, TV shows, and books, and specific topics within those things. And today we're going to dive into TV shows. This topic makes me a little bit mad because these were all great TV shows, in my opinion, that really got ruined because of weird decisions the creators made. It's not just me, but a lot of the fans were upset with these decisions. First of all, I have to say that I will talk about spoilers in this video, so in the description below I'll have the names of the TV shows so you will know which ones I'll mention. A disclaimer, this is only my opinion on these TV shows. Maybe you don't think the same, you might agree or disagree, but I just want to share my opinion on these TV shows and why I think they got ruined. Before we start, if you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel for weekly videos about movies, TV shows, and books. Now let's start with the list. The first TV show is a recent one, and that's why I wanted to talk about it first, and it is Elite, or Elite, whatever you want to call it. Elite, in my opinion, was a great TV show. The first 3 seasons were brilliant, amazing. I love the characters, I love the interactions, the relationships. The soundtrack of the show, everything felt so fresh and new. Of course, when it premiered was groundbreaking and everyone around the world was watching it. And that's why it hurts me a lot to say that season 4 was trash. Season 4 was everything that I thought was wrong with teenage drama shows, and I was always thinking that Elite wasn't like that up until that season. The storyline of all the season was not great at all. It didn't have a great mystery like the previous seasons. It feels like time went backwards for the characters because they were acting like they used to act in season 1. Like all the character development was erased, especially for Guzman. And I hate that because Guzman is probably my favorite character from Elite. Of course, not talking about season 4 because that was messed up. Also, some of the relationships that I thought were working great and that they were healthy even though they had problems were ruined here. Of course, spoiler alert, we are talking about Guzman and Nadia and Omar and Ander. Those relationships were important for me, were great in the previous seasons, and this season literally destroyed them. It practically destroyed many of the relationships that were very important to me. I'm not talking all about couples, but also friendships. Like Guzman and Samuel's friendship was so pure and great, and it developed in a beautiful way from season 1, season 2, season 3. And in season 4, it was like none of that happened. Like everything went back to zero. I hated that. And I have to talk about the new characters. I'm not criticizing the actors. This is all about the characters. I hated the new characters. They were pointless, they were bland, they had no personality. The story just felt so flat in comparison to the previous ones. The story felt more about these new characters than our favorite characters that we've been following for 3 seasons. And that is not good. The new characters in season 3 were also bad. I mean, they weren't great, but at least they served a purpose in the storyline of our characters. They created conflict and then they left. But this new season was more about the new characters than the original characters. I know that this can be a transition that Netflix is doing because, well, now Guzman and Ander actually left the show. The actors are not going to return. But still, I think that would have been so much better handled in another way. All the relationships between the original characters and the new season 4 characters were bad, boring, and didn't add anything good for the plot or the character growth. And with this, for me, Elite lost all the creative, brilliant, and entertaining storytelling it had for 3 seasons. In conclusion, I hated season 4 of Elite, and I don't think it's worth the watch because it's not even in the same level as the other 3 seasons, and that's just sad. I don't know how good or bad season 5 is going to be, but I have no expectations because season 4 literally just disappointed me. The next TV show I'll talk about it's kind of difficult for me because I have a love-hate relationship with it. This is The 100. I fell in love with this show for many reasons. I love many of the characters, many of the relationships. It is a great sci-fi show. It has drama, explores many great topics. It has LGBTQ+ representation. It has many things that I love in TV shows. And sadly, the last season was terrible. The worst thing that I've ever seen. I'm going to talk about details, but season 7 in general was terrible. I don't even have more words on how to describe it because I really hated it. First, let's talk about how the 100 handled the characters. You know, there was an arc every season, certain characters, like a new group of people, like the Granders, Mount Weather, new conflicts every season that closed in the season finale. But with season 7, we had many of the characters from season 6. They didn't conclude those storylines, so it felt like we had the characters from season 6 that they didn't know what they were doing there, and the new conflict from season 7 and our protagonist. It was all messy and awful, and I honestly didn't care about many of the storylines because it felt like there wasn't this storyline that you were following, that from episode to episode you were following this path to the great season finale and series finale because it was going to be the last season. I didn't feel that at all. It just felt like a mess. Some episodes were just like a story within the same episode and then it ended. It was terrible.
We were used to the serial type of storytelling. All the previous seasons worked like that, and that's why season 7 felt so different in the worst way, because it all felt too cluttered. And some of those standalone episodes like this ones were good episodes on their own, but it didn't make sense to me that the show changed how it told us the story. And do you know what else didn't make sense? The ending. The ending was bad. I know she wasn't Lexa, so it doesn't count.
Raven's plot was just really disrespectful to the character. I mean, Raven suffered and suffered and suffered a lot during all the show. But this season, they created problems to affect her that came out of nowhere that they could have caught because they were unnecessary. They just wanted Raven to be unhappy and miserable because that's how I felt. Many of the extra characters were pointless too, and they had no personality. They just created conflicts that were unnecessary, and I hated them.
Like this ones, because I'm sure you don't even remember their names.
We lost many characters that we loved in very weird, bad, sad ways. Like Maddie. What was that? Maddie's ending and Clark suffering for that. That was terrible. It wasn't even a beautiful way to close that arc. I mean, why? Why would you do that? And also the most important thing for me, the thing that broke my heart, because I'm literally revealing now to you that I cried for the whole night. Like, I cried myself to sleep after watching this episode. It is a spoiler, a huge spoiler from the 100, so beware of that. And it was Bellamy's death. That was the worst thing ever. That was just disrespectful to all the fans. It didn't make sense at all, like the way it happened or the reason why Clark did it. It feels like the creator of the show did it because he knew that fans loved Bellark. He knew a lot of fans wanted Bellark to be endgame, to be happy, to be a couple. You know what? I'm not only not going to make Bellark happen, but I'm going to make Clark kill Bellamy. You know, the epiphany of the worst thing that could happen ever to your ship. Believe me, I struggle a lot to talk about this because I love the 100 for many reasons, but I hate the 100 for many reasons. The last season was a mess. Season 6 wasn't that bad. It had bad aspects, but also good ones, great ones in my opinion. But just because season 6 didn't actually close the storylines and those dragged on onto season 7, in my opinion, now the 100 only has 5 seasons and that's it. I cannot get over this, and I don't think that I will get over it. If you have watched the 100, if you are a fan, if you loved Bellark, I think you have the same opinion as me. Please leave it in the comments if you do, because I know I'm not alone. But still, it hurts a lot, and it is so sad to say that this great show that the 100 was and that the potential it had got ruined because of the last season. The next TV show is not very popular. It is a country music TV show that it's called Nashville. I like country music, by the way. You didn't know that about me, but I do. But mostly all the country music that I listened is from this TV show. Nashville is a drama show about country music singers, and it is so fun. It's so dramatic and great, and the music is magnificent. That was an aspect that I admire from the show. Like from season 1 up until the end, all the songs were brilliant. So if you like country music, I really recommend recommend you to listen to the Nashville soundtrack because they are great. And yes, at first this was a fun TV show to watch. I got invested in many of the storylines, the characters, the relationships, but the last seasons weren't as good as the first ones. And that tends to happen with many TV shows, I'm aware of that. But this one destroyed many things that I think made it a bad TV show instead of a good one. First, I want to talk about the relationship that all the time we were reminded that it was gonna be endgame. Even though they were fighting sometimes, even though they had problems, they always worked it out. And these two were Gunnar and Scarlett. They started being friends. They became a couple. They have the most wonderful, sweetest, and even kind of steamy duets. I love how their voices match and how their personalities were great, but the show kept on making problems and issues that they had to face over and over again. There was this point that you thought that they weren't going to be together anymore. They became so toxic, but still they gave you some clues and some things and some scenes. They had some interactions that made you think that, yeah, they could work it out again. In the last season, they were going to be together. You felt like it was going to be like other couples, like Ross and Rachel from Friends. I thought like, well, at the end, they are going to just say that they love each other and go back together, and that doesn't happen. My problem with this wasn't that it didn't happen, it was like why the creators didn't want them to happen. They could have made just a solid relationship, developed this relationship, anything else other than creating problems and problems and problems to the point to make them so toxic that they couldn't end up together. But all the signs were there, all the chemistry was there, their voices, their personalities, their relationship that they had at the beginning was, I mean, that was a waste of potential in my opinion, and one of the things why I didn't like this show that much anymore. But the other thing that was, the worst is killing your protagonist. I know that that's more common on, newest shows. You wouldn't think this of a drama show, just chilling and singing country songs, but yeah, that happens. Reina dies in season 5, I think, and in the episode in which she dies, I couldn't stop crying. It was so sad, but I wasn't only sad, I was sad and angry because why? I mean, the show really lost the spark after this death. I know that the actress wanted to leave the show, but I mean, I don't even know what to say about this anymore because that was the worst decision, the saddest thing, because all the characters were very affected by this. And the show became not a drama about Nashville singers, but a constant mourning for this character episode after episode. And I just couldn't deal with that. I think that was the worst decision.
Also, I forgot to mention it, but Juliet's plot for the last seasons, especially season 6, was absurd. It felt like they didn't have good ideas for her character, and that's sad because the actress is amazing.
For starters, the show wasn't like a 10 out of 10, of course. It was an average TV show, great drama, entertaining. But with that, it really got ruined for me. And the last show I will talk about is a new show from Netflix. It's called The Letter for the King. I talked about this show before in another one of my videos recommending it, and I still kind of recommend it, but I also wanted to say that it got ruined for me, basically. I don't have many things to say about this because the show only has 1 season and like 6 episodes, but I do think that this had the potential to be so much more than what it was. The first episodes are great, amazing. They present you new characters. The storyline feels like it's going somewhere and that it's going to be amazing. But the problem was the last 2 episodes, I think, or the last episode, I don't remember very well, in which something happened that didn't make sense. It was a plot twist, but it wasn't a good one. So we know all the time that Turi has powers and that he's going to face this evil that is threatening the world. We know that it's important, and we know that he has been training himself to defeat this evil. And then we learn that Turi doesn't have any powers, and that Lavinia is the one that has all the powers and that we didn't know, and oh my god, shocking. That wasn't really good, and the way that she defeats the evil was weird. I read the book The Letter for the King because I wanted to know how things play out there, and it's a very different story, so there's no comparison about that ending in that situation. That was mainly created by Netflix, and it was bad. It was a bad decision. I mean, I would have loved Kari to be the chosen one, even though it is a common trope. Maybe some people felt like it was empowering for the girl to be the one that had the powers, but in my opinion, that didn't work. And last thing that it's the worst about this is that we had an LGBTQ plus couple. Very beautiful one that charmed all of our hearts. All of the fans of The Letter for the King can agree. It was Giuseppe and Foldo. They had the sweetest first kiss. They were great. They were so beautiful. And then they killed Giuseppe. Just out of nowhere. And Lavinia, with all her powers and all the powers in the world, they couldn't save him, so they bury him. My face was like, I couldn't believe it, because she had these great powers and she couldn't do anything when he was bleeding out to death. This tends to happen. It is even a trend, like the kill your gays trend.
I totally said that wrong. It is the bury your gays trope. I'll leave more information about it in the description.
And I don't know why with this show, which was new and it had so much potential, you had to do that. It hasn't been announced a second season or anything from, the creators or Netflix. And well, I can't say that I don't agree, because if they do a season 2, like, they have to really work on that, because that was bad. That season finale was terrible. And that's it. Those were all the TV shows that were great and got ruined. Some had to do with characters, some had to do with plot lines, some had to do with deaths, but it doesn't matter. In my opinion, they just were ruined and they couldn't be the same after those things that happened. Leave me in the comments if you agree or disagree with me. Of course, I would love to know. And also leave in the comments other great TV shows that in your opinion got ruined also by terrible writing decisions. But please put the word spoiler when you are going to say a spoiler. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share it with all of your friends, and don't forget to support my channel by subscribing. I upload videos every weekend about movies, TV shows, and books. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.